Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you're all having a great summer. I missed you guys. You know, it's been a few weeks since I've done a video, and it's been a very busy summer. I've had my little guy home from school, but I have a few minutes here so I can put together a quick video. And what I wanted to talk about today is the 2016 JW Convention, and I couldn't find any highlights of the convention. So I call this the 2016 JW Convention Lowlights. I don't know if any of you attended. Did anybody here go? Yeah, boo, I don't like it, yeah. Yeah, that seemed to be the sentiment. It was a very weird convention. In fact, I don't know if you've seen Lloyd Evans' videos on the convention, but he dubbed it the worst convention ever. And I have to agree. It's like, I want my old cult back. Well, not really, but it's bizarre what's going on, and I don't know why they're doing this. I get the feeling that they're panicking. I mean, my feeling, okay, is that people are leaving the organization. They're waking up to the craziness of what's going on, and the organization is panicking. And what do? They make it tougher on people who leave, so they increase their shunning policies. And then they make it even more cultier with some of the other things that they're doing. Like, for example, we've seen things like the overlapping generations teaching, totally unscriptural. I don't know where they get off. It seems like a desperate attempt, you know, to hang on to the 1914 generation idea, a generation that clearly died. They've got this blood fractions, bizarre policy going on, again, unscriptural. I don't get that at all. The begging for money, you know, having children giving up their ice cream so they could give money to this billion-dollar organization. We've seen the Australian Royal Commission, which exposed the massive pedophile problem that's been going on for decades within the organization. And I don't know if you're following the news, what's going on in the UK, but there's going to be a commission there as well, where the organization, the JW organization, has actually tried to stop this from happening. They don't want you to investigate them. They've gone all the way to the Supreme Court in the UK to try to stop this investigation of their pedophile situation from happening. And they lost. I mean, doesn't that tell you that there is a problem? I mean, if you have nothing to hide, then why are you spending so much money taking it to court to try to block them from looking into it? Very bizarre. And it just goes on from there. The Tony Moore's tight pant rants and just the stupidity, it just doesn't seem to end. And it from what you see from the convention, you're going to see even more craziness. I mean, guilt and fear seems to be their biggest tactic. And we see this from not only the shunning video from the convention, but also from the bunker videos, you know, really trying to scare people. What bothered me is that it does work for some people. You know, they see these bunker videos and they start to panic. They start thinking, you know, the end is near and, you know, what are we going to do? And they start freaking out. And that's exactly what the organization wants. And so what I wanted to do is to show people that it's just insane. And if you can find a way to laugh at it, it makes it all that much more, it makes you wake up that much faster because you can see what their tactics are. And so that was what I wanted to do, is to show the videos from a different angle and to kind of, you know, I'm not making fun of the people, I'm making fun of the organization and what they're trying to do. And when you can start laughing at it, you start to realize that it's not real. It's just them trying to lure you back in using their own tactics of guilt and fear. And one thing I just wanted to say, something that might help you. As I was putting together this video, I thought about something that might actually help people who are struggling with bad memories of, you know, from having grown up as a Jehovah's Witness. I don't know if anybody knows, I think his name was Tony Robbins. He was a motivational speaker, I guess in the 90s he was popular. But there's one thing he said that always stuck with me. He said if you have a bad memory, how you can turn it into a good memory is by doing this. So picture your bad memory and then picture all kinds of crazy things happening. Like, rainbow colors, loud noises, crazy music, you know, that circus music, do 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 do, that kind of thing. Just put that music in it. Balloons going off, cartoon characters, play it backwards and forwards and speed it up and slow it down. Do this for a few minutes and you're going to find that the bad memory that you have actually starts to make you laugh and you start seeing it in a different light. And I actually did that with my judicial committee memories. I started thinking about it and I started picturing the elders with, you know, big, huge cartoon heads and Mickey Mouse voices and playing it forwards and backwards and crazy colors and crazy music. And now when I think about that memory, that's all I think about. I just laugh. I don't think about the way it made me feel after having, you know, gone through it. And so anyways, just a little tip that I thought might help you as well to get over some of the bad memories. It doesn't work for everything. I mean, if something is like completely someone's death or something, you know, you can't make that into something funny. And so don't even try. But when it comes to the memories that you have of the organization, it can really help. And humor goes a long way in trying to heal. And that's kind of why I made the videos that I made from the convention. I tried to turn it around. I tried to find another way to make it, instead of being something scary, into something that you could just sit and laugh at and go, how ridiculous. So just try to remember that you may not appreciate my humor. I realize not everyone likes my humor. I know it's a risk whenever you try to be funny. So just know that my motive is not to be cruel to any one person or to the Jehovah's Witness people in general. I never want to target them. It's the organization who has enslaved these poor people, you know, to follow them, to give their money to them and to give their lives to them. And that is who I'm targeting. And I'm making fun of the organization. So anyways, that's why I call it my 2016 Convention Lowlights video. And I'm going to start with the shunning videos. Basically, the girl was coerced into baptism as a child before she realized the potential lifelong consequences. As an adult, she fell in love with a co-worker, fooled around with him, got disfellowshipped. They had 2 kids together, and her parents completely cut her and their grandkids off for a total of 15 years. They wouldn't even answer the phone when she called. For all they knew, she was about to commit suicide, which isn't uncommon in situations like this. Or perhaps it was one of their grandkids calling, wondering what kind of people would cut off innocent children. It really sickened me how society made it all about the parents. Poor them. They have the girl attempt to return after 15 years, and she said after attending all the meetings, sitting at the back of the Kingdom Hall while being shunned, merely a year later she was reinstated. Merely a year? That's torture. Where is this cruel JW reinstatement process in the Bible? I tried to turn it around in my video to show how cruel and idiotic shunning is, and how much better life is outside the organization. But I just gave up, because I had to do voiceovers for pretty much the whole thing. Here is a short clip that I'd done.
It feels so good to be with my family and friends.
Being away from the Jehovah's Witnesses organization?
It's the best place I could be. My children and I are so happy now. But it hasn't always been this way.
What a bitch! Just like Manasseh.
So that's about all I did. Well, actually, I did do most of the video, but as I said, there's voiceovers over pretty much the whole thing because the video was just so annoying and just so stupid, and it's difficult to find the humor in a video like that. So I just gave up. It's not my cup of tea at all. So that's all I'm really prepared to show you. Another series of videos that they had done at the convention are the ones featuring Sergey, I think was his name. He's a Russian, I take it. A Russian JW. Let's see what that's all about. The first video in this series, when Sergey was a child, was especially sad to me and motivated me to do an entirely new video which I called JW.org Child Dream Killers. It really summed it up to me, how literally every single person who grows up as a JW not only has had their childhood stolen, but their dreams and careers as well. If you are brought up as a JW, you will be shown all kinds of pictures in their publications of people being killed at Armageddon, celebrate no holidays, and receive few, if any, presents ever. You will constantly be reminded that you have no future in this world, so higher education is not allowed, and you're nothing more than a good-for-nothing slave. You'll be pressured to be baptized at a very young age. The pressure starts around the age of 12, but these days it seems to be starting as young as 7 or even 8. And if you try to leave as an adult, you will lose your family, your friends, and your community. You will not be allowed to have friends outside the organization, will not be allowed to join school sports teams, and will be forced to ring doorbells every weekend trying to recruit new members. You are also told that you need to preach to your schoolmates, because if you don't, then they will die at Armageddon. But you will be blood guilty before Jehovah for not warning them, and you'll be killed too. That terrified me. This whole thing about preaching to fellow classmates reminds me of a memory I had when I was in grade 1 at the tender age of 6. There was a girl in my class, and she started telling me that she thought she saw a monster in her bedroom. And I said, "Oh, it's not a monster. It's a demon." I don't know if I was trying to console her or scare her with that information, but knowing the JW tactics, I'm pretty sure I was trying to scare her. And it worked. You see, I told her that she needed the Listening to the Great Teacher book. So I brought it to school the next day, and I told her that she needed to give me 25 cents, because that's how much we took in contributions for the 192-page books at the time. But come to think of it, why were they 192 pages? Have you ever wondered what would have been on page 193? Maybe something like, "By the way, it's all crap." Anyways. She gave me the quarter, and she immediately wanted her money back. And of course I wouldn't hear of it. She's like, "Well, what did I get for my 25 cents? And I said, "You got the book." And she wanted her money back. And I wouldn't hear of it because a little thing called the buyer beware principle. Plus I wanted to count it on my, my monthly time sheet publisher record card thing. So just going back to the Sergei story. It's no surprise when you think about it that so many witnesses are on antidepressants. I mean, you can live for maybe 5 or 10 years with this doom and gloom, the world's about to end imminently, hanging over your head. But after 5 or 10 years, it really starts to affect your health. I mean, you've got this happening, the fear and the guilt, and then the guilt of having to try to recruit new members at every opportunity. After a few years, it really starts to affect you. I mean, this has to end at some point. There's an expiry date on lunacy. You can't continue to live this way forever. Check out this meme I did showing how Sergei grew up according to his fictional life in the convention video series. I don't get what their message is, to be honest. Perhaps it's living like a self-sacrificing martyr makes you a better person worthy of being saved? I don't know, but the whole video series was so depressing. First, we see the young Sergei getting his dreams ripped out from under him, and the only reason given to him by his father was that he would be surrounded by worldly people, which is what he faces right now in school. Then we see him as a young man returning home and finding that the police have ransacked his place and his father is missing. He ends up in prison and is told he could see his imprisoned father and go home to look after his now sick father if he signed a document renouncing his faith. He doesn't do that, so he ends up remaining in prison. Interestingly, on another side, JW.org had no problem joining the United Nations as a non-denominational organization for 10 years throughout the 1990s. Yet you are told you must spend years of your life in prison for lesser offenses. Okay, back to the program here. He ends up spending many years in prison. Then, as an older man, he's shown refusing a blood transfusion in a hospital and is prepared to die. What a tragic life. He was used and abused his whole life by the JW organization, and now he will sacrifice his life all because he trusts and follows a bunch of old men in New York, even though the Bible tells us not to put our trust in men. How can JW.org say this is the best life ever? It's heartbreaking. Let's hope many in the convention audience woke up after watching this depressing craziness. Another sad video that I didn't attempt to re-edit was their modern-day Job movie/drama. Here, the Job character lost his son and his father in a car accident. He got cancer, had work conflicts due to company downsizing, and he refused other employment due to the organization, and more. It's a sad situation, and I find no humor in any of it, so I didn't want to try to remake it. The only thing I'd like to add is that if you are a Jehovah's Witness and you did go through a horrible crisis in your own life, you unfortunately would receive very little comfort from the organization, if any. I've seen it time and time again. I know I experienced it myself. And I get emails from people. And recently I've received a few emails from people telling me the exact same thing. That in fact, when they were recovering alone, they were all but forgotten after having gone through a horrible, accident or health crisis. And they actually had their congregation privileges stripped. There's some that were pioneers and there were some that were ministerial servants that were actually recovering in the hospital. And because they could not make the minimum hour requirement, they lost their congregation privileges. I mean, this is something you don't need when you're already down and out. Let's kick the person further to the curb, And, I realize that there are some wonderful Jehovah's Witnesses. There are some people that really would be there for you. They'd bring you flowers, they'll come and visit you. But it's not something that the organization does. They have no programs in place to help you if you are sick or if you're old or if you're going through a hard time or you're depressed. They have no programs in place whatsoever to help you. And in fact, you're going to find that you're actually left up to Satan's world, the charity from Satan's world to help you. I will say that if you do work for a living, you're going to find that your co-workers are going to be there for you, which is, at least you've got that. But it's surprising, isn't it? Who's there for you and who isn't. You would really expect, Jehovah's organization to be there for you. But they're not. And it's surprising too, because the Bible even says there's a command to look after widows and orphans. But do they have any programs for this? No. Similarly, if you have a loved one who dies, there will be a memorial talk for this person, but they will barely even be mentioned in the talk, and their life will barely be mentioned too. And the reason is because the organization would prefer to use your dead loved one as an excuse to have a 45-minute infomercial recruiting more members. So on that cheerful note, let's move on to the bunker videos. Now, I actually did have fun remaking these videos. It was very therapeutic for me. It wasn't always easy to try to turn the story around into something funny. I mean, I had to make the most of what they gave me. I'm obviously not a director, and I don't have the ability to reshoot the scenes or do them the way I would have wanted to have done them. So take them all with a grain of salt. I did my best. The JW setting for these videos was that it was in a bunker. It was a basement that was acting like a bunker for faithful Jehovah's Witnesses during the Great Tribulation. I turned it around to be a great basement renovation, as you'll see. In the first video that you're watching, we have Elder Brown, who doesn't like being counseled, and he tells his fellow elder exactly what he thinks of him in his own weenus way. Here are some snippets.
I got ripped a new one.
I don't know, something like,
I'm a window washing weenus. I want to really stick it to him.
So what are you gonna do about it?
Hey, you. I don't like you. And here's what I'm gonna do about it.
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
I sure showed him.
So you showed him by cleaning the toilets like a girly man?
believe me, I am still learning.
He won't be trying anything with me anymore.
Then we move
I
on
hadn't
to a
changed
brother with a
back then,
hardcore porn
things would
addiction.
be so different.
Someone I'm sure everyone would just love to have in their bunker, cooped up with their women and children.
I guess I'm not the only one who's...
With a porn addiction.
But for me, it was a little more subtle.
Proverbs 5:19.
Let her breasts satisfy you at all times.
Breasts satisfy you at all times. Breasts.
I was sowing unclean desires.
And I loved it. Yeah. This next video involved Elderette Brown at her place of employment. The society's message here seemed to be that when her co-workers didn't care for her pulling out the Bible at them during coffee breaks, as let's face it, few people would, including witnesses, she decided that they were bad association. Then later on in the video, there's this bizarre secret knocking that went on. They all look to the elder as if he's the only one smart enough to crack the super intelligent knocking code. We find out in this video what's really going on in this basement.
If I may.
I still thought I could show them from the Bible that the missionary position should be the only position that we use with our husbands.
Honey, it doesn't work like that.
All right.
Oh my goodness!
You know, with a husband. But in reality, I was the one being taught.
Oh, so he could go on top.
And I was a quick learner.
We'll be trying that. I'm fine with shunning my kids for 15 years or more to try to force them to return to the organization, but I think they said I have to be in subjection to my husband. But I got scared because I couldn't find any fault with the worldly girls. Besides, they were making me think about things, and thinking for yourself is bad and needed to stop. I used theocratic warfare and told them I was busy even when I wasn't.
So did that work?
It did. And I was so relieved.
And so was I.
Back to the missionary position for us from now on. Is that the right amount of knocks? I don't know, I lost count. I'm not sure if you're agreeing or if you got Parkinson's, so I'm just gonna open the door.
Is Kevin with you?
He said he's not coming.
Wait a minute, so I've gotta do this all on my own? How sad. Now, this far into the great basement renovation. The fourth video was actually the first video I redid from this series. It involved Kevin and what he thought of the organization. This one was actually really fun to make.
People there have their paradise and they don't listen anyway.
It's all crap.
Do you get to talk to your coworkers about it?
Nah, it's all crap. He said it was all crap.
For as much as we've all tried to help Kevin.
Let's face it, it's all crap. Darren, check that list and see who else I wrote down in the congregation that we can talk about. This one was a bit of a challenge to redo into something funny. The Society's version was about murmurers in the congregation, or as I see it, ones who actually think for themselves. But JW.org does not like that. I changed the setting so that it was about an elder who ripped off a brother, knowing that the brother wouldn't take him to court, and he'd be able to get away with it. And this same scenario happens a lot within the organization. You'd be surprised. It happened to my ex and many others in my old congregation. An elder whom we all trusted was going to invest money for you, and instead, he took off with the money. My ex lost $40,000, and many others lost money too. Nobody sued. Lest you drag Jehovah's name through the mud. It's so ridiculous. The brothers in the video I redid got stumbled and left the organization, while the elder who ripped them off faced no consequences, wasn't sued, took his son to Disneyland, and bought a big screen TV. He had a good time. And this is what seems to happen. The good and honest people get victimized and leave, while the rats remain.
Eventually, some were no longer our brothers.
Son, it looks like we will be going to Disneyland after all. We were so happy with them gone, we even bought a big screen TV so we could learn more about Jehovah as a family.
I've learned to have appreciation for everything.
Especially big screen TVs and Disneyland. I had a good laugh making this next one. The JW one was about depression, and there's nothing funny at all about that. So I changed it to where the sister had a crush on Kevin. Elderette Brown in the video counsels her to take control and to be more like a certain Bible character.
I had a good friend who always helped and listened and helped me learn how to fight it. And I'll always be grateful.
But she's not here. Ow! I know what it's like to be dumped. I had a friend dump me too.
Will they ever stop feeling like this?
Don't worry about if it's gonna stop. Let's talk about ways you can take control.
Take control?
Karen showed me how to paint my eyes like Jezebel and how to be more like her in taking control of the situation. See? Here's a map of all the places where Kevin's gonna be today. And like you said, I need to take control by stalking him. It's gonna be great. I've learned how to be more like Jezebel, just like Karen. Elaine, not smart of you to share. Chris, you're the only one here who didn't turn in your time last month. Oh yeah, here. Good, then hand it over to me, because I'm the boss here. How did these horse racing tickets get in there? Anybody in the Society's version of this one, they show a pioneer couple who has given up everything to recruit new members full-time. But apparently the message is, that's not enough, and are made to feel guilty. They sell their home to serve where the need is great, and live what they call the simple life. In my version, I gave the husband a gambling problem, and they lost everything because of that. But they were pretending they had done it all for Jehovah. You've probably met ones like that in the congregation. Their lives weren't working out, so they claimed they'd given up everything for the truth. Yeah, turns out I have a gambling problem. What? Yeah, I lost everything. My job, even the house. You and I are gonna have to move. Well, I guess we could tell everyone that we did it for Jehovah. Yeah? Okay.
Took some time to adjust.
But we did it all for the truth. The last video in the Bunker series was intended by the Society to scare members. But in my version, it's Halloween night, and they just want some candy. Unfortunately, Elder Brown doesn't want to share it. No, it's my candy, and I don't like to share.
Thank you, Brother Brown. It doesn't bother you that these guys are ripping up your house?
Yeah, it does, Chris. But as it says in this awake-bound volume, the candy is to appease the wicked spirits, and I want the candy for me.
Absolutely.
Quick, get behind me. I've stashed the candy back there.
Shut that door.
You're not getting my candy, you heathens. Trick or treat! The final video at the convention was to show the members what life would be like in the new world. So we see the bunker people, minus Kevin and the murmurers, of course, and we see people from previous videos like the one on the modern-day Job. Obviously the organization is attempting to make their paradise seem real, but I prefer my version. I called it Paradise of the Apes. Who's the weenest now? Is that Charlton Heston on a horse?
All the time.
Toni Morris!
Damn you! God damn you!
So that's today's show. It was just a very quick wrap up of some of the lowlights from the 2016 JW conventions that I know some of you had to attend. So I hope you enjoyed the show, and I also hope you enjoy the rest of your summer. And if you like this video, then like it, and we'll see you again soon.